Fluff at Chris Department on Twitter. I'm with the Fantasy Sports Advice Network. I host the Debbie Dojo, so we do Debbie content, which is kind of up and coming. Not a lot of people doing that. So we have a whole platform of people that are doing a bunch of great work. So check us out at the same.
I'm with our host here. I don't know Dynasty real life. We're all Dynasty all the time. We also dive a little bit into Dynasty because you guys do some C2C stuff on our Patreon. What sets us apart? We try to bust consensus and try to give you guys a good sleep and help you win.
My name's Jagger May. I work for two companies, Fast Draft and RotoWire. So inside of me are two rules, and both of them are degenerates. What separates Fast Draft from other people is like, well, yes, we're best ball and season long, but we offer an Origins tournament that's specifically tailored to give Dynasty nerds a place where you can rip off rookie drafts and reaction ads and you can win money. RotoWire is just our suite of tools that we offer you, and also Alan, that's how you say what I want. So for the most part, that's pretty cool.
I went to the wrong stage. Hello, I am Nate Polvogt. I am with Optimus Dynasty. Newer company. We're here and we play Dynasty and I'm stoked.
Awesome. All right, so anybody can take this one first. What drew you to Dynasty and what makes Dynasty fantasy football special and different from everyone else?
So with Dynasty, growing up as a kid, a lot of us played like Madden or any sort of like sports game. We always want to be able to build a team long term, right? So when we get older, we're adults, we're playing fantasy. We get to do that in Dynasty. I think that's the fun part. You get to be your own GM. So you can do whatever you want with the team. You get to build. Like quarterbacks, a lot of quarterbacks, what about them? But you, whatever you want to do is your team is long term. 5 years down the road, build. It's fun, right? Like you get to have this whole entire model curated to something. There's something more to that than in redraft where you build this team and you start over the next year.
I mean, I think they had the best answer because it's like, I'm never going to be a GM, but I can at least like really, really close my eyes and open an app and try. But the only thing is, we play this game because a lot of us just want to hang out with our bros and we have kids, and this is the one thing we do together. Dynasty forces them to hang out with me at least through an app all year long, and that's what I like. Like, we're forced into this social contract. I'm going to DM you at 1 a.m. in the morning about a tight end, and I'm going to bother you until you either reject or accept my trade. And that type of camaraderie you just don't get in redraft. Like in July, you're not DMing me about a backup running back.
These guys pretty much said it. For me, I love being DM'd at 1 in the morning about a tight end trade, so it keeps me invested. It's basically just the year-round investment, and with the seasonal league, the thing that I would hate about that is when people are out, they're really out, they don't check the rosters, they don't do anything. So this way, even if you're out of that season, you still, I want that first pick, let's play a little bit, let's sell off some assets, and let's try to get that one-on-one next year. And got it on the way that DM's play.
Yeah, well, I think I'm just going to be brutally honest here, right? We're all a little bit degenerate. We're all here at Expo, right? We all started pretty much traditionally with redraft, and we all wanted that next step, right? And now I'm talking about Debbie all the time, so I'm scouting guys from college. So it's just about how deeper into it you're willing to get, right? But I love Dynasty because of exactly that. It's year-round. It's not just a 5-month period during football season. You can continue to learn a little bit more and continue to get different nuances that are going to help your game and build a better team and help you win.
Yeah, these guys sum it up pretty well. It's the only platform that you can literally say, even when you're losing, you're winning, right? It's the only platform that you go into where you literally have rules involved, so you don't try to lose. Tanker rules, right? It's the only league you go into, you have a 0.0% chance of winning your league that year, but you're going to pay your entry fee no matter what it is. Like I'm in high stakes leagues. People pay thousands of dollars to join this league, and they have 0% chance of winning, because their chance of winning is getting Ashton Kempe having his entire career. I've been playing Dynasty for a long time. It's a great joy to have LaDainian Tomlinson for his entire career, Alvin Kamara for his entire career. It brings a lot of fun to the game from so many different aspects besides everything what they said camaraderie-wise. It's just that team building and feeling like, hey man, so one, like when you redraft, you put in the time, study it, Dynasty, if you put in the extra time, it's where you actually get the edge over your league mates. It's why we build the tools that we build that give you that edge for long-term success. And it's why once you play redraft, once you get somebody that takes the Dynasty, it's like that one kind of fantasy drug for us all. It's like, oh dude, if I just could do one more draft, I could do it a little bit better, right? Like, if I went left where it should go right. And then you do another draft, you're like, all right, well, now if I went right twice, I could have done a little better. Next thing you know, you're like me, and you're in 35 Dynasty leagues. So it's the greatest game in the world, in my opinion, and that's why I love it.
Rich, I know that every year startups change, you know, the values are a little bit different, where you're going to take guys, also depending on the format, 1 QB, super flex, tight end, premium, IDP, all these different options. For you, how are you specifically attacking your dynasty startups this year?
Yeah, I love, it's why I've been so many, well, one, being in the business, like I try to keep my finger on the pulse, right? It's easy to do rankings, it's easy to get on a podcast and talk about your opinion, but like I'm a big, like, put your money where your mouth is kind of guy, right? You can say do all you want, but like, are you winning? Because why do we play the game, right? We all want to win. And we want to win championships, we want bragging rights, we want the extra cash in our pocket. So like, I like to do startup drafts to kind of see if I'll put my money where my mouth is. Do I really have this player ranked out of him? Well, if I'm on the clock and I'm in a $500 league, that's going to tell me who I like the most, right? So like, what I'm finding is, you know, in Dynasty it's always changing, right? Whether the running backs are where you want to take early, the receivers, like right now we have a plethora of receivers, right? We've been inundated with young talent of receivers. So, and what we've also had is like a good group of quarterbacks. And most of us, I'm sure, playing Superflex leagues. So my new strategy, which I love, is like I'm real big on, outside of like Jaden Daniels and probably Josh Allen, like I pivoted, I think the real value in startups is like the quarterbacks in the 4th and 5th round. Like I'm very comfortable going Brock Purdy, Trevor Lawrence, you know, Brock Purdy, chase the upside of JJ McCarthy, and getting the opportunity now to grab one of those elite young running backs in the first, the Bijan, the Gibbs, the Genty, followed up with a really good receiver like a Drake London of the elite neighbors, and build that as my core, where traditionally in Superflex, like I'm grabbing the best quarterback I can get. But on points per game basis, a lot of those guys are kind of leveled out. Definitely a guy like Brock Purdy, right? Like, what are we doing in Dynasty? We're constantly trying to chase value. Whether it be trades, startups, like you're trying to find the best value to build that line. But right now, like a guy like Brock Purdy, you give him the 4th round, that's a guy who every time he's taken a snap on an NFL field, from a fantasy football perspective, it's been a QB1. That's tremendous value to me, right? And he's 25 years old. He's got the contract installation. So for me, I'm always trying to find value, and startups now, and I'm in one right now, and I kind of want to put that to the test. Like, is there really true value looking at 4th, 5th round Superflex? And so far, I've been happy with it. So for me, that's how I'm approaching things this year. You know, trying to finally get one of those elite young running backs, even though it's a short shelf life. Like we do data all the time on like, what are the odds of you being a running back one more than once, our receiver one more than once? And honestly, like for the most part, it's a short window, except for those elite guys. Way more elite receivers than there are running backs. So like I think the value is like actually trying to, even a Superflex league, take advantage of that quarterback push, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and grabbing a Jahmyr Gibbs, grabbing a Bijan, taking the risk on a Ashton Genty, following up with receiver, and then really take advantage of that quarterback depth that we've seen, definitely with the 2024 class, which is one of the best classes we've ever seen, and kind of build teams that way.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I think in a lot of Superflex, which seems to be very popular these days, I've noticed that this year specifically, if you're doing a startup, you can wait a little bit longer on quarterback, or maybe take one elite quarterback and wait a little bit more for your second or third. In general, I pretty much, we say on the Dev Dojo, trust your training. So I like to find the advantages in the rookie draft where there's a guy who maybe I really liked more, and then the ADP's a little bit back. So you want to trust your evaluation of players and rookies and find nuances in your rookie draft to say, maybe I'll move back a little bit, pick up an extra pick, or maybe I'll move forward because I really like this guy. So you want to be able to trust yourself with confidence. That being said, as you're playing Dynasty, you can't be afraid to let go of people. You can't have this sunken cost fallacy, right? So if it's a year or two in and you're stuck with Treylon Burks or whoever, you gotta let them go, man. I'm sorry, right? So make sure that you're playing the game in a cerebral way and not letting your emotions get too involved.
You know, speaking of Treylon Burks, this is another reason why we play Dynasty, because we think we know better than NFL GMs. Remember, the Titans GM said, I'm just going to get rid of A.J. Brown, and Treylon Burks is coming to do the same thing. Yet he still has a job somehow. So kind of piggybacking off what Rich said, I do something called punt the premium. And that is, if it's Superflex, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to wait on the quarterback, get good value, and I'm going to fill out stud running back, stud wide receivers. Same thing with if it's a tight end premium. Everyone's rushing to get Brock Bowers and Sam Laporta, and that's fine, but Jake Ferguson is a very reliable tight end. He just signed a contract extension, and you can get him rounds and rounds later. So I do what I call punt for premium. I get better value. I build around solid running backs, solid wide receivers, weight up tight end, weight up quarterback. That's my main strategy. And just remember, the cheapest time to get any player is in the rookie draft. You will never get a stud running back, wide receiver, quarterback cheaper than you can in the first round of the rookie draft.
It's funny, I'm going to kind of tell you the opposite of what they said, so we got a lot of diversity on this panel. Yeah, I'm a big running back fader because I have low T, apparently. But, I'm just kidding. I'm big on getting a hero quarterback and getting anchor positions. So I like to think of, like, just like everybody else, of things in tiers. So for me to have a high upside player like Lamar Jackson, Jaden Daniels, or Jalen Hurts, my entry for cost is just way too hard to acquire that type of player, and their shelf life is a lot longer. So I'm more likely to take a quarterback in the first round, and then I'm hammering a pass catcher, and a lot of that is like, and I'm not even a data nerd, I'm a film bro, if you want to know my pronouns, but like the hit rates for a wide receiver year over year are far more stickier than like a running back. And then the unique thing we have this year is such an influx of running back talent that I would much rather spend my first 4 rounds getting strong pass catchers and then maybe fade QB2 and get Trevor Lawrence or something later and have that foundation. And then as soon as now Trevion Henderson went up 2 rounds out of the preseason, but like when we were getting that free money, I will get that type of player. And then if I have a lot of wide receivers, it's much easier for me to acquire a running back in season. So I try to draft for value, and then I build my team once the actual season starts. You know, in July, we're not setting lineups. So if I'm going to do a startup, I more just want good players and kind of worry about the rest later.
So I like a lot of what you said, especially with the hammer quarterback, back off running backs, get those pass catchers. I think that's really important. Running backs at this point, if you look at the landscape of the league, they're kind of a dime a dozen, right? Like, we got really excited about Quinshon Judkins. Things happen, and now we're all drafting Jerome Ford and Dylan Sampson, hoping that one of those guys is going to take the reins there in Cleveland. So with running backs, I think you can really be very flexible. I don't hammer them in startup drafts ever. That's something that I focus on very late. I'm more prone to get guys like Roschon Johnson in like the 14th and 15th round because they know that there's a chance maybe DeAndre Swift doesn't work out. And if I've got Roschon and I get that value 13th, 14th, 15th round in startup, and he ends up being a guy who I can start every week, I've been able to spend up at wide receiver, which I think is a more valuable position. We all play PPR. It's either half PPR or full PPR, very few non-PPR leagues. And then now, on top of all the stuff that they say, when I go into a startup, I treat it like a redraft draft. Because I like to win, and I am happy to draft the best team I can in a startup to win that year, and then I can work with it from there. If I have to do stuff in the offseason, picks, be aggressive in rookie drafts, make trades during the season to up my team, I'm fine with that long term. But I want to win with that. And that's kind of the reason why I play this. I think we get lost in that dynasty where we're looking at these like 2, 3, 4 year windows, and that's great, right? But look at this year. If you're drafting a startup, try and win that year.
So let's start with rookie drafts real quick. So rookie drafts are one of the biggest things in Dynasty. You know, we want to make sure that we're succeeding in our rookie drafts because in Dynasty, we're not getting to pick a new batch of players every year. It's either you make a trade or you figure out the right rookie to draft. So talk to me about rookie drafts. What's your guys' overall philosophy? You can go ahead and reference this specific class if you'd like to, even future classes, or just general thoughts about rookie drafts and how you guys attack those.
So I'm a big proponent of known assets versus unknown assets, which causes me to, I move my rookie picks. I like first and second round picks, but past that, third, fourth round, I use those as bait and trades. I don't really see a point in owning them. I don't see a point in holding on to them. Those guys are so rarely going to give you any value. They sit in the taxi squad for 2 years, Diamond Brown, and they're useless. So in rookie drafts, I can really hammer those first 2 rounds, but I think if you can get a known asset, like you can get a Justin Jefferson for a first round pick, do it. Because you don't know what you're going to get with that first round pick.
No, and he makes some good points about trying to actually win money sometimes, you know, we definitely try to acquire good players, but also play up to your strengths. Like for me, I get my edge on the rookie scouting end. So I think picks are more valuable in my hands than my opponent. So I'm not saying I'm going to sell the farm for it, but I will keep on holding on to them. The other big thing in rookie drafts, you should always draft talent. You do not draft for need, because a lot of times, you know, I need a quarterback. I'm going to go get Davis Mills. He's walking into the Texans, and now you've got Davis Mills. And, you know, a lot of your teammates aren't going to trade a second and whatnot. And that's why I think a lot of people get themselves in trouble. So you want to think of like how the NFL does sometimes, where you're like, well, they really needed this player or this position. Well, it was very shallow, like particularly receiver, like a couple of years ago. So they're not going to take their shot this year in receiver, and they just want a good player. And that's how you should draft as well.
I'm going to say the first strategy for me in rookie drafts is, if you're in a league of mine, I will not start a draft until the entire league is paid. I'm not chasing people for money in January so I can pay everybody out. Just want to throw that out there. Please pay your league fees, everybody. But you hit the nail on the head. Don't draft for need unless the talent and the need happen to sync up. In which case, like, man, I need a running back. I'm at the 102. Oh, Marion Hampton's here. Go ahead, hammer that pick. The only thing that I can say too is, if you want to make a trade and nobody's giving you any good trade values before the draft, that draft pick will never be worth as much as it is when you are on the clock and it's like, hey, if you want it, you got to come get it now, but it's going to cost you. So just talent over need every time, unless you're not.
Yeah, I completely agree. Just throw position to the wind, because the hit rates on these guys are not great, even in the first round. So draft based on your evaluation, your talent. But you had talked about even future drafts. Coming from a Debbie perspective, this is the year right now to trade your 26 picks, because the 26 rookie class is a down year. And 27 is getting more hype. I think that the 27 first even jumped 26 on KTC at one point this offseason. So 27 is a really great class. 26, not so much. I like a lot of the running backs, but the rest of the class is a little bit down. So if you're one of those fringe teams this year, where you're maybe a playoff contender, you're right about there, or you are a contender, don't be afraid to trade those picks. I'm usually an advocate to wait a little bit until the end of the season so that you can have, especially for your first, you want a little bit of ammo so that if something happens, you can change your team up a little bit and continue to be a contender during the season. But this year, I would advocate for, don't even worry about the rookie draft next year. Trade those picks if you need to.
All right, bear with me for a minute. So when it comes to rookie picks, right? Dynasties, if you want to break Dynasty down to a simple format, this is what it does, right? Who to buy, who to sell, who to draft. So your rookie picks are one of the most important part of your Dynasty, right? What's great is they never lose value. If anything, they mostly gain value. And I like redraft. It's you just can't hear it, can't speak just like leagues. Every league is like its own back end, right? Every team has its own vacuum structure, league structure. So for me, again, at Dynasty, it's like we've been doing this for a long time. We study this kind of stuff. Like, what is your draft picks kind of work? Like, if you listen to our shows in summer, we go back, we have a podcast out there. It'll show you the hit rates between picks 1, picks 2, pick 3, and what are the odds, right? And like they mentioned, like, what are we trying to do? We're trying to win, right? So if you're trying to win, and you think you're going to make the playoffs, and you're picking pick 9 through 12, there's no reason you should own that pick, right? If you can get a player that's going to give you a 2-year window of number 1 numbers or high-end 2 numbers, those are championship caliber players, which is what we're trying to do. Take to prove an asset. History will show us, outside, like throw the 24 class away, maybe the 17 class away, we've done the studies going back 25 years, right? Picks 9 through 12 playoff teams have a 50% hit rate of being rosterable players. Not starters, rosterable players. We all know who Gordon Doyle Green Beckham is, those kind of players, right? We draft these guys, we get excited, but those picks at the back end of the draft aren't as valuable as the high-end drafts. And even then, you know, you still have a risk there, risk versus reward. So if you're trying to win, you're a championship team. There's 2 ways you should be, right? A contender or reloading. Never stuck in the middle. And never get stuck in the middle. It's easy to get stuck in the middle because when you have teams trying to lose, they're going to like artificially push you to the playoffs because they're trying to lose. And it's easy to get lost in it. That's why we build the tools we have so you don't get put there. So where do the draft picks evaluated? Most of the people rebuild it, right? Trying to get assets, trying to trade up. Use those picks to your advantage, right? If you get a proven young asset, yes. Is it going to be costly? Yes. If you're reloading, you're trying to lose, you're not looking for proven assets. You want to get as many draft picks and shot in the gun as you possibly can. as many firsts, as many seconds, so you can get to the position to build those guys that you can't trade for, right? Like, you can't go get Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, besides creating a big hole in your roster, unless you just lucked into like a whole bunch of players. So for me, when I play draft picks, it's either I'm reloaded and I want as many as I can, or I'm selling, right? Because like everybody would say, same thing, like when you look at these 2 to 3 year windows, like, dude, DJ Moore. Prime example, Joe Mixon. We've been saying for 3 years, on our show, like, you could have easily got Joe Mixon for a first. So 3 years ago, like, we're pounding the table, like, dude, you get Joe Mixon for a first? He's like a championship caliber running back. What has Joe Mixon in the last 3 years done? He's given you 3 running back 1 years. The odds of a running back giving you 3 running back 1 years, Garrett, are like 17%. Like, if you go back over historical data and see, like, the running back position, I understand what these guys said, hey, like, I fade running back. You should. But historical data says, like, if you have a Bijan Robinson, a Jahmyr Gibbs, you know, those elite small groups, just like the tight ends, like Brad Bowers, Trey McBride, when you can find those small window groups you get with those assets, we did the historical data. A guy like Bijan is almost just as valuable as Jamar Chase and lives in the same window, right? And that's what we're trying to live in these windows, in 2 to 3 year windows. And when people say like, oh, he's only got 2 years left, he's 28. Meanwhile, Derrick Henry's 31 years old and still pounding the league for 2,000 yards. People say like 2 years, like, oh, that's nothing. That's nothing. Go back and look at your league 2 years ago in 2023. Look at those rosters. They're going to look drastically different, right? So I agree. You're trying to win now if you're in that spot. So for me, draft picks are just an asset that don't lose value. They do gain value closer to your rookie draft. But like now, this time of year, when people are like, dude, I need to get like, you can find value there, right? People are like, dude, I just need to get Joe Mixon off my damn roster. Like he's hurt right now. Like, shit, I'll take a second. Like, all right, if I'm a contender. Seconds have, what, 7% hit rate? Tell me you can get past like 2, 3?
About 17. About
Yeah.
17%.
Third round picks are like, picks, you know, I think sometimes in Dynasty and season people think of like NFL draft picks, like the value chart, right? But in Dynasty, second round picks to me, like, if people are like, want to throw a third in, I'm a big like sprinkler on top of ice cream. Where, like, I'm dropping extra thirds, seconds, I'm making that deal like, dude, look at all the draft picks I get. Me, I'm just giving away roster callers, right? Like, yeah, can you find the Puka Nakuas? You know, I look at people like, who's the next Puka Nakua, right? You know, like, dude, those are outliers. You can't win chasing outliers. And another thing I want to say is, let me go back to 26th class, like, my big move this year, guys, I'm using Dynasty GM. I'm going through and looking at all the teams in GM that are the bottom 6 ranked. I'm offering all those teams my 26th first, plus my 3rd round pick this year, with their 27th first. So like, dude, I'm getting a free 3rd round pick and a pick next year. Meanwhile, my tool is telling me these teams are going to be bad in 2 years. And you mentioned the 27th class. The 27th class looks spectacular. I do want to say this, we don't know how deep it is, but it is top heavy with those talents combined. Arch Manning, Ryan Wilson, Jeremiah Smith will leave probably the greatest college football receiver ever. Like, I have goals to go get Jeremiah Smith. That's my #1 goal in Dynasty for some teams where I'm sort of ready. How do I get Jeremiah Smith, the next Calvin Johnson, on my roster? And I'm playing for that now. I'm playing ahead, so I'm required as many 27 picks as I possibly can. What are we doing? We're trying to win the game. Draft picks are going to be the easiest thing to move at all times during Dynasty, at any time of the year. They never lose value. So I use that value as an asset.
Yeah, and they're great because it's like the currency of your league. You know, somebody might like a certain player and they might not like another, but a pick could be any player. They can draft the guy that they like. So it's one of the best currencies that you can have out there is draft picks. So let's keep talking about draft picks a little bit here. How does the value change for players, for you guys, when you're looking at taking them in a startup, taking them in a rookie draft, or trading for them? How do those values change in those different scenarios? And how do you take advantage of that and win in your league using one of those 3 methods to get the right players?
I'll say that, and I'll be real quick, I just talk a lot anyways. My favorite thing to do in draft pick is, again, trade my draft picks, right? Because you mentioned before, that's as close as you're going to get to a startup as possible. And the way I look at it is, if I could trade my 26th first for a 6th round pick in a startup, so right around pick, I don't know, I'm not a mathematician, but you know, like a decent player that's worth like a 1st round pick, I'm doing 2 things. One, I've added 1 extra player to my roster that is a quality player. So like immediately my team's gonna be better than somebody else's team, so I get that 1 extra pick. So you're always like, dude, I need another running back, I need a tight end here, my second, like, there's always that 1 player you gotta decide to complete your roster. So if you use that first, now your team's more, not guaranteed, but better odds to make the playoffs. Again, it goes back to that. Now my person's probably going to be a late. first, so probably going to be picked 9 through 12, which has a 50% chance to be rosterable. And that holds no value to me early on. I'll worry about draft picks year 2, year 3, the first couple of years. I'm trying to get as many quality players on my roster as possible, and I can use future assets like picks where I expect to be like a contender for 2 to 3 years. Out the window, they're gone.
Yeah, and along those lines too, we talked about rookie values and hit rates and things like that. I see rookies quite often, if it's a mixed startup, they're going way too high. I almost never take rookies in a startup because everybody's hyped about everybody, right? So the realistic options there are usually proven veterans who are going to get you better points right now. We just talked about trying to win as soon as you can. I love the idea of using redrafts as your rankings for a startup, right? Because you want to win early and then figure it out later. So I would say fading rookies, if it's not a dedicated rookie draft, is always a good strategy because many of them are going to miss and then you're going to be stuck with a roster. You're like, I thought this was going to be good for 5, 10 years, and year 2 you're like, what did I do? In October we're going to be looking at our startups from this year and be like, why? What happened? So absolutely, I would say focus on veterans often and starting startups, I should say.
That's probably the best thing to do, in my opinion. You see guys like, you might have Ashton Genty taking the first round. That's a bad pick. In a couple years, it's going to be a fantastic pick. But if I could get Jamar Chase in the first round instead. I mean, Ashton Genty did not look good in his debut a couple nights ago. I do think that that's going to be kind of a fluke. But for me, if I could just take solid bets early, and then guys that should be second, third round rookie draft picks, I can start hitting them past the 11th or 12th round, that's about where I do it. I really hate when I'm on the clock and then somebody comes out and says, hey man, send you a trade offer. It's always at 1 a.m. too, for some reason. It's like, give me your 8th round pick and then I'll give you, and then it's a list and it's all this back and forth. And it's like, it's always sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got all the lines going everywhere. It's like, I don't have an algorithm to figure out how to do this trade. So if you're going to trade during startups or rookie drafts, just try to simplify it as much as possible. The more moving pieces that there are in a trade, the more likely you are to somehow get screwed. Look over it really good and just make sure somebody's not trying to nail you in the crosshair and just really take it from you.
You nailed it on the startup trade, because I don't even look at some stuff. I'm like, all right, give me a 2 for 1 or get out of here. I'll just make the pick. But essentially, like they said, anytime you get in a startup draft, there's going to be one dude in there that is committed to tanking. That year. So there's always going to be that one dude. You're naturally going to have people get pushed down. And then to give you further gamesmanship so you can, quote unquote, play 4D chess, is do what Nate said, is you're playing redraft to understand where the value dips are going to be. And it's always like you don't hate the player, you hate the ADP. Now Tyler Warren is reasonable. But for a while, people were legitimately taking him around, a couple of rounds after Trey McBride. That's a no for me, dog. I'd rather have a good player and then you can arguably trade for Tyler Warren because we are depending on Anthony Richardson to be healthy and good. That's not a great bet right now. Does that mean Tyler Warren sucks? No, that just means the discount is going to be in 2026, baby. So why would I pay that premium price now when I can maybe get Tyler Warren later? And that's the way you should build your roster, because you can have your cake and eat it too. You have a competitive roster, and then you have assets that you could trade to get some of these disappointing, quote unquote, disappointing rookies later.
So I love what you said about Tyler Warren. I think it was interesting watching rookie drafts, and people were so high on Tyler Warren, right? We forgot he couldn't beat out Brenton Strange at PSU in college. It could be a James Franklin problem. But James Franklin was his favorite. Sure. But these are the things I think we don't think about. We get really hot on these players. Like Kyle Pitts, I think, is a perfect example. We overdrafted the absolute hell out of that guy. And I love him to death. There was a round of applause when he was drafted in the 12th round yesterday. You were there, you saw. And we get enamored by these players where we see the talent, right? And you said something earlier where we do this because we think we're smarter than NFL GMs. I think I am. But man, was I wrong on Kyle Pitts, right? And I think we need to remember that when we're drafting these teams and startups. Like, yeah, we have these ideas about these rookies, and we're looking at draft capital and this and that. What you paid for Kyle Pitts his rookie year, he has not panned out, right? And you probably take that pick back and go some other direction in that rookie draft. If you could go back, we saw the freak athleticism, and we assumed, well, Atlanta's going to make this happen. I think similar with Tyler Warren, we look at the athleticism, we look at the talent, we look at the skill, then we don't really pay attention to the situations. We were overdrafting him before he even went to Indy, and now he's on a team that couldn't make Jelani Woods work, right? So there's concern there with a guy like Tyler Warren, especially with the quarterback situation. We need to pay a lot of attention to that, because you can get stuck with a guy because you can't trade Kyle Pitts for what you would really like to get back, right? At this point, there's no way you're going to get that. We have to remember that. Be willing to take the risk, take the flyer, but remember, we're not NFL GMs, so we need to listen to them a little bit sometimes. Yet.
So how do you guys decide in your leagues when you guys are playing and you're looking to make moves and things like that? How do you decide if, hey, I'm pushing all my chips in, I'm ready to win it now? Or I'm looking at my roster and I'm ready to blow it up? Or somewhere in between, or maybe you're like, I don't even like to do either of those things. I like to live in the world of gray a little bit more. So how do you guys determine what direction you're taking your teams?
So I think the previous season obviously is a pretty good predictor. If you had a really poor season, you can look back and say, look, yeah, I was decimated by injuries. I had Christian McCaffrey, I couldn't roll it out. I didn't have a lot of backup plan there. Context is very important. But I try to stay in that gray area for the most part, where I treat every team the same. Like, look, I'm trying to win. I'm going to make the moves I need to make, regardless of where I finished the previous season. Most of us who play Dynasty are good enough at building a roster that you really shouldn't ever be that far off anyway, so I think the gray area is kind of the best place to look.
Rich made a good point that earlier that you never want to be stuck in the middle. And a lot of times, I look at my roster and I see like how many players do I have that are actual ones, like finish in the top 12. And if you don't have a lot of that, then maybe it's time you need to make some changes. But I'm going to talk out of both sides of my mouth. I do think sometimes in Dynasty, we are quick to want to rebuild. And I think it's important to understand that making a perennial playoff team is a skill. Winning the playoffs, a lot of times, is luck. Because sometimes I'll go into the buffest roster ever, and, Sam Darnold becomes a pumpkin. And then what's Justin Jefferson done for me? Like, all these things happen. So I'd like to look at my roster and say, can I make one or two trades to be competitor? And if I can't, then I need to make one or two trades to tier down there. So basically I'm saying, like, don't be so quick to be like, oh, well, that's the way she goes. And then, like, you're trading away, Devontae Adams, who I think is an incredibly cheap discount right now to get someone with wide receiver 1 upside, as long as baby girl's back holds up. Best effort.
I think one of the most important things when you're talking about going all in, we'll let the season play out a little bit, and it may not be looking at your own team, you have to look at the rest of the league too, and you have to say, do I have what it takes to compete with that guy or girl that's number 1 right now going into the playoffs? And what do I need to add to my roster to compete with that team? That being said, do I have the league mates who are going to respond to trade offers, who are going to be active in trade negotiations? So a lot of it, and there's also, like you said, winning the playoffs is a ton of luck. I mean, I've won leagues with rosters that I had no business being in the playoffs in, and then I'm going in with the first overall seed and I got knocked out in the first round. So you have to look at your team and say, is it worth me making this shot here? And do I have what it takes, and can I get what it takes? Trade your future picks if you think you can go all in. That's a great time to do it, because vets will get you some return value, especially if they're good, if you have to return.
Yeah, those were both very good answers, and I agree that I'm typically making these decisions, where am I at long-term in the middle of the season, right? Because we're really looking at smaller windows. We talked about 2 to 3 year windows. So how is my season going? Am I plagued by injury? Am I having an opportunity to play for the playoffs? That's what I'm really going to decide, because in the offseason, we're all really just guessing, right? So once ball's starting to really be played, that's when things are going to shake out a little bit differently. Some of the guys in your league that you thought, that's not a good team, they're going to be making the playoff push, and you might have a good team and everything's gone wrong. So I usually make those decisions in the middle of the season. Where am I at, and do I have an opportunity to start trading those 26 picks that I talked about, keeping, for the ammunition you need to push you over the edge and get you into the playoffs or make a championship push. I'm doing most of those decision making based on how I'm performing during the season and what I think long term I'm looking like. Is everybody old? Do I have a good young core and they're just all injured? Where am I at that way?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, especially with like Mike said, pretty much everything he said. My top 14, okay, if I'm going for it. If not, how do I become a top 14? That's it. And in a dynasty, it's just a little bit different. Like, it's not just become a top 4 team for 1 year, like what do I do to become a top 4 team for a 2 to 3 year window, right? Like what's my path? It's always a path. I'm a top 4 team, I'm trying to get in, because you're right, like once you get in, anybody can win. Like I've gone in with the shittiest team and beat a team that you see on paper, it's like, wow, he's got Saquon, Gibbs, Jaden Daniels, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, like I could never beat that team. And all of a sudden you have Puka or anybody, they blow up and you beat them. Like once you get in the playoffs, anything happens. So it's whether I'm a top 4 team or I'm not. It's that simple. Because if I'm not top 4, then I want to be in the bottom and kind of like blow it up. Anything but the middle. It's really that simple. So I know my team and my league dictates where I'm at, right? Like, and sometimes it's me aware of like, okay, it's easy to say like, oh, my team's old. Time to blow it up. Well, maybe you can't trade, like you said, maybe your league mates don't want to trade for those players. You can only trade those old players for value in season, right? So you have a limited window. And it's up to you to decide, okay, do I want to train and get some seconds or thirds, or do you say, you know what, screw it, I'm going to ride this train right into the ocean, right? Like I'm riding all these old guys, I'm going to try and get more old guys and try and win one last chip, and then I'm going to blow it up more from there. And when you're at the bottom, you know, if you do that route, what do? You get the 1-1. Well, you didn't make any trades, that's fine, because now you have the 1-1. It's one of the most valuable assets. If you have the 1-1 and you have nothing else behind it, trade the 1-1. Move back to 1-4, move back to 1-5, get somebody else's future first, get a future second, you know, like, there's always a path, right? That's the funnest part, like, we're best to disagree, like, people play Dynasty in so many different ways. So that's why I love having panelists, people on the panel that play differently. Scott Connor's usually here, I tell them all the time, like, you and I play Dynasty 100% completely different, but we both find success. So, like, again, it's hard to talk in a vacuum, because every team in every league has its own path. It's on you to find that path, right? It's why you're sitting here, it's why you listen to podcasts, it's why you subscribe to the site. Like, and tools, like, how do you find that path? And one league's gonna be completely different than your other Dynasty leagues. There's so many variants involved. So, again, the best advice is you're either trying to win or trying to reload, right? And that's where you're at.
So you're either driving your team into the ocean or some into the sunset, but
Yeah.
or the ocean.
First or last.
Yeah, there you go.
Totally fine, yeah. Try to win.
So let's talk about the game of Dynasty in general. When we look at the game of Dynasty, is this something that over the next 5 years that we see growing? Is it going to plateau or maybe even decline? But if you do think that there's growth opportunity still in Dynasty fantasy football, how do we see what innovations need to be made? What direction do we need to take? What things do we need to be doing for this game to continue to grow?
Yeah, we got to talk about it, right? Like I said, I mean, once you get a taste of Dynasty, it's hard to go back to redraft. It becomes a little bit less appealing, right? It's just not as fun. So the game's growing. You know, like I was talking with Mike Clay about this, you know, a couple of years ago. I told Mike, I was like, dude, I'm so grateful that ESPN lets you put your Dynasty rankings on ESPN. You know, we see Matthew Berry talking about it. So it's the people that, like, you know, have that platform, that nationwide platform, that are redraft players predominantly, that talk about Dynasty. Because people are like, what is that? You know, like when I had my show on ESPN, like I was like, I tried to talk about Dynasty, like drop these little hints on it as much as possible, like to get people, like just to know what it is. Because all you gotta do is give people a taste. So when I talk about people, like I look at no other website, no other podcast as competition. Like if you play Dynasty or a Dynasty site, we're all in this together. Like, my only goal is to grow the game of Dynasty. Right? Like, if you Google Dynasty, you're gonna find Dynasty nerds. Like, it's not my job at that point then to like keep you reading our content, listen to our podcast. But like, my number one goal is to grow the game of Dynasty, because I know it's a great game, and I know it's the best game to play fantasy-wise. So like, when I see people like Mike Clay, Matthew Berry's, you know, the fantasy footballers start their Dynasty podcast, you know, to me, I get really excited about that because that's growing the game. So yes, I think the game's growing because more people are talking about it. More people talk about it, the bigger it's going to get. And every year, what is it? There's new players playing fantasy every year. You don't age out, you play forever. You turn 18, you get to college, high school, people are playing regular fantasy football. So for me, once more people know about Dynasty, like, hey, dude, like you said earlier, camaraderie. It's the best part about Dynasty. Like, you get a league going to high school, you guys all go to different colleges, different careers across the country. You still have that connection, right? Like, my oldest league's 22 years old. We got people that live all over the country because we started when we were young. So the more we talk about it, the more we play, the more the game's going to grow. And I think we've all seen that probably, right? When, you know, why did I create Dynasty Nerds 12 years ago? I want to create it 17 years ago. Because there wasn't enough information about Dynasty. I'm like, dude, these people don't know what they're missing, right? Like, I got to start preaching. Like, I'm going to start a cult. Is what I'm going to do. And so that's what I've been trying to do since then.
Yeah, and I was going to talk about the history. You know, it used to be redraft, and I was thinking 10 to 15 years, but it looks like maybe 12 was the exact time when we really started to pick up Dynasty. So 10 to 15 years ago, people weren't really playing a ton of Dynasty. It wasn't nearly as popular. 5, 10 years ago, PPR wasn't really popular. Now it's basically the standard. Superflex, everybody's playing Superflex now, but 3, 4 years ago, that wasn't really the case. One of the reasons I like Devi and I do Devi content is because I kind of feel like that's the next wave. I play a lot of Dynasty baseball, Dynasty hockey, where you're drafting guys that you have a farm roster. And that's essentially what Devi is, and I think that might be the future. It's not for everybody, of course, but the way college football is playing out with the NIL, college football is a much more exciting game than it always has been, and it's always been very exciting. And I know a lot of people prefer college football to the NFL for various reasons. And I think that college football, you know, I'm not quite as much of a sicko where I'm playing college football Dynasty leagues and I'm playing college football redraft or C2C. I'm not quite there yet. I'm sure I'll get there at some point because that's the next edge after that, right? But Devi gives you an opportunity to draft these guys even younger and follow them throughout college football. And I think that might be the next wave of Dynasty, which is why I'm making content for it. Because it's so much fun to, you know, you mentioned having Genty for 10 years or whatever. But what if you had Genty when he was at Boise State for 3 years, you know, and then you said, I've been on this guy forever. And you could have got him a lot cheaper in a Devi roster earlier on. So I see that as the future, but I think there's a lot of ways that we can approach Dynasty to make it more of a nuanced game than even just a standard format. Examples like PPR and Superflex. So IDP is popular now as well. I know a lot of people are doing that. There's always going to be the next thing. So I encourage everybody to go out and look at other people's content. Talk to the people that are here at all the Expo booths today. See what they're doing because everybody has better ideas on ways to change the game.
It's pretty simple. Fantasy as a whole and Dynasty goes as the NFL goes. And I always tell people we can't tell these GMs who's going to be good. They tell us we have to draft accordingly. As the NFL transitions to a more year-round platform, there's not a lot of downtime like there used to be when I was younger. It seemed a long time ago now. It seemed like there was a lot of downtime between the Super Bowl, then the draft, and then training camp. And now everything is so compressed. So as the NFL continues to go year-round and constantly find ways to keep people interested, it's going to naturally make people just more interested in the game, and those people that play fantasy football, they'll want to come to the year-round platforms as well, and that's us. So all we have to do is just be there for them. They have questions, answer them, and you can search Dynasty Fantasy Football. Dynasty Nerds is on page 1, where they should be. We're on page 4, we're working our way up. But yeah, so we just have to be there, tell people why it's so good. It's not, you know, all these guys that do seasonal stuff, I respect them, they're great. And I still play seasonal too, but when you build that great roster and then you're knocked out in the first round, you have nothing to show for it. And when you're done in week 10, you have nothing to show for it. So this just shows people, look, this is a year-round commitment. If you're a Dynasty or a fantasy football junkie, this is the way to do it. We're starting to see the C-League, by the way.
If any of you guys know me, I'm always brutally honest and I don't ever really filter myself. So this could be the first and last panel I ever do. But to answer Garrett's question, brutally honest, I'm gonna give you a PSA, and I'm talking about some Greta Thunberg type shit, where our format I think is in danger, and a lot of that is our own faults. Because as Dynasty nerds, we are the 1%. We are the people who are film grinding, we are in the data nerds, and we have a huge habit of only feeding ourselves the same information. Like I'm making content for other content creators, and we aren't really doing a great job at connecting with new people. Like for instance, like I've worked for 3 different companies at this point. I've seen data at a high level. Redraft is just so much bigger than Dynasty, and then Redraft's even in trouble now because we've kind of sold out and bastardized what we do now. Everything's about betting, everything's about best ball. We're all about short term. We're all about walking bets. So, you know, like how can we quickly get people to put money in and cash out? So for us, when we act like assholes on Twitter, you know, well actually, you know, so-and-so in the 3rd round, it just turns people off. So like the big thing for what I say everyone is that we need to make more accessible content for the everyman. Because a lot of people, like Superflex is, that's something out of the Kama Sutra for them. Whereas for us, it's just kind of missionary. And I think that's something that like we really need to address as a community.
Jagger, this better not be your last panel. I I'm with Jagger here. I think that as the people that we are, like we do this. I'm in 26 Dynasty leagues, and I love every second of it. I manage all of them equally. I love them all the same, like we all love our kids, right? But I think there's an accessibility issue. I think that there's some gatekeeping at times with Dynasty where it's like, well, yeah, I play Dynasty because, like, yeah, I watch all year and I watch the camps.
Not my league.
Not your league. Right,
That trade would never happen in my life.
right. But I think there's a level of gatekeeping. I think accessibility to the common fantasy manager is huge for this platform. I think we need to make it more accessible for them because it can be intimidating. We tried to transition our home league of 16 years to Dynasty a couple of years ago. And my brother-in-law about shit his pants looking at what he had to do year in and year out. We made it too difficult. You can have a simple Dynasty league where you don't have to constantly be trained. It's what we do and we have fun with it. But don't shame people who don't want to do that. If they want to be a part of the platform, they want to take it easy, don't berate them for it. Like, make them feel welcome. I think that's a big thing in Dynasty leagues. Make people who are more common managers feel welcome in the platform and not like they're out of their element.
Awesome. Well, at this point, we only have a little bit of time left, so I want to open it up with some questions. You can ask a question to a specific analyst, or just a general question that anyone can answer. So, let's see. Let's see back here. This is the first one I saw.
Hi guys, great job. I'm in a Dynasty league. We draft the rookies every year. We have a question. We also have 4 IDP slots. You can probably figure what's coming. You start 2 every week, right? So we're drafting right now. Genty will probably be number 1, but it depends on some rules changes. The question is, with Travis Hunter, you probably knew this was coming. If you draft him as your wide receiver, you have him in your wide receiver slot, should you get his defensive points also? We get points for interceptions, tackles, things like that.
Platform specific, typically.
It's a My Fantasy League, so it's adjustable. We could probably change it to anything we want.
You gotta put that to a league vote.
We are.
Okay, that's fantastic. Yeah. Something like that, you have to let people decide. No one's gonna be as high.
Right now it's 7-3 in favor of giving him all the points.
Well, then you're getting
You
points.
get the points, though.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this one follow-up question. With him getting points on both sides, is he number 1 or number 2?
1.
What is your opinion?
I picked 5.
He's not number one.
Genty's number 1, right?
No, let me cut yours.
Here.
If he's not, listen, here you gotta look at how many snaps he's gonna play in defense. Okay? How many interceptions is Travis Hunter gonna get? 2, 3? Like, does that offset does that offset Genty's points of stealing, like regarding him stealing? I think people put a little bit more weight. Is it sweet? Yeah, but he's losing snaps on offense because of defense. And how much like, again, I don't play IDP, so I'm kind of speaking out of school a little bit here, but like, I don't know, how much are interceptions worth? Not like a whole lot, right? I'm sure 3 points, like, so if he gets, say he gets 4 interceptions a year, it's a really good year. Look at over 17
Yeah, but
weeks,
he gets
it's 12
points for
points.
tackles,
Can't
all
all
kinds of
12
things.
points? Like, I mean, I wouldn't. That's 12 points you're talking about. Like, give me Genty, give me him, shit, give me Trevion Henderson. You know what I mean? But I still love Hal Hunter as a wide receiver. I said, like, I don't care about it. I'd take him as number 1 receiver because he has the highest ceiling. But I'm just saying that wouldn't change me a little bit over 12 points over 17 weeks. Like, that's what I was saying.
It'll be more than that, because you get points for tackles and things like that.
Yeah, wide receiver more, but not over like if you want to take over Hampton, that's okay. But like, I'd rather a guy who's a great offensive line who's gonna get all the carries on a run first team.
Good defenders last year averaged about 6 points per game. Per game, so that's a lot more than 12 points in a year, because you get points for tackles. Tackles.
Is it flex? I think we flex. Four flex.
Well, we have 4 guys. We grab 4. We start 2 every
It's
week.
a better advantage when you have a defensive back starter because you're getting wide receiver.
So they're going to still start out 2 IDPs, but they're going to start Travis Hunter in their wide receiver slot, and they're going to get IDP points for it.
Right.
And again, that's why I wanted to ask if he passes up
It's a
Genty.
bigger advantage
That's a
when
good
you have to
opinion.
start a defensive back. Then if you have to start a defensive back, he's going to get wide receiver points. And they traditionally get the lowest points of any position on IDP. If it's just flex IDP, it's a little bit, you don't want to overdraft him necessarily. I just go for guys that get a ton of tackles if it's a flex IDP.
Okay, so you guys, I know this gentleman, is it Box? He's still saying Genty's number 1. I'd like to hear
Yeah, listen to me over these guys.
That's right. Right now, the guy drafting number 2 is the one lobbying for it.
I will say this, the IDP panel starts after us, they're probably the better guys to ask about.
I'll tell you yes to commit.
All right, who else we got questions?
I'm not struggling with trades during startups, just knowing what things are worth. Especially when
I'll actually, if I can sneak in here, I'm going to sneak in on this one because I like this question and I think it's a great question. I think the easiest way to go about it is if you have an ADP sheet or even better, your personal rankings. If you can put actual names to what those pick slots are, it's a lot easier to figure out what the value is. So if a guy says, hey, I'll trade you 109 in the startup and I'll give you my 4th round pick and my 5th round pick. Okay, when we go through, okay, that's probably going to be like Devonta Smith, and that's going to be Jared Goff. Okay, but I trade Devonta Smith and Jared Goff for Bijan Robinson. You know, so that way it kind of helps you to be able to understand and put some names to it, as opposed to just numbers, because the numbers do get very, very confusing. So anybody with a different thought on that?
Exact thing I was gonna say.
Perfect. Yeah.
For league parity, like there's a lot of leagues, obviously. What's the sweet spot for like roster size? Like I'm in leagues where there's 40 guys, I'm in leagues where there's 30 guys, we have 4 taxi squads, I have 2 taxi squads. Like, what's the sweet spot to have? Is it 25? So that way there's more robust regions, or like what's the right way to do it?
The sweet spot for me is 30 roster spots, unlimited taxi spots for 2 years. Why? Because I want that waiver wire to be like finding a fossil in the desert, right? Like I want the waiver wire. You know what I want waiver wire to be? Tom Brady, Drew Brees. Like those are like the number 1 need for ADP because what makes a dynasty league fun? It's trading, right? Like so if you have a waiver wire and you go to like redraft, like what are we doing here? You know, like, the waiver wire should be non-existent at all. Maybe you can find the guy from the Giants, Victor Cruz, like a guy like something along those lines. But like you want to encourage as much trading as possible. The more active your league is, the more fun it is. Whether you're talking crap about a trade, like or missing out, like dude, I would have gave you more for that. Like dude, should have sent the offer. Sorry, first come, first serve. So for me, I want the league to be as big as possible, and then even more so, unlimited taxi spots. And people that have limited taxi spots, what are you doing? You're hurting your dynasty league, and now, like, why would you trade for draft picks if you can't even throw them on your roster? Like, you don't have room for them. So, like, you're discouraging trades because your taxi squad is unlimited. Whatever you can get out there, do it. Because, like, if you're rebuilding, what do you want to do? You want to draft a lot of players. And then at the same time, you want to lose. So what do you want to do? You want to stash some of those guys on your taxi squad so they're not scoring on your active roster. It's kind of a lot of time a loophole to tank it, right? What are we trying to do with our taxes? Find loopholes to save us money. So for me, the bigger the rosters and the bigger your taxi squad, I promise the more fun your dynasty league is going to be because it's going to involve more engagement, more trades, more league mates talking. Because nothing's more like not fun like an industry league where the league's just pretty much like nobody's talking, nobody's making trades, people are just going through the motions using your draft picks.
All right, let's get one last question here. Yeah.
One thing that's come up here just here in the last month with our league, and it's one of the industry-wide tanking, because with Jendi, coming up, we had, and some people were complaining about people tanking, is it just something's going to happen?
Yeah, people are always going to try to, if they're not competing, they're always going to try, if you're not a top 4 team, you're going to try to be as low as possible. I like leagues that try to find ways to avoid that, like highest scorer gets money every week or something like that. There's different ways to do it, in that vein to discourage it, but it's always going to be a problem, right? And there's always going to be people who commit to it.
My big thing is like I like to make my rules for ethical tanking, where like I don't want you have to have a legal roster of people that are real. That's pretty much the only thing that I require on there. Because and if people are gonna intentionally lose, because that's when you get into weird colluding territory where we don't want that. So as long as you're setting a legal lineup, if you want to trade your entire roster and make Darius Slayton your wide receiver 1, so you can get Jeremiah Smith, more power to you, baby. Like, I'm all for it, as long as it's, like, ethical.
As long as their league fees are paid? I don't